a really good effort from him, as you say, to be on the 4th row of the grid alongside him. He's going to be Marek Botman there, who's come up from Formula 4 racing as a young German driver, he's just 19. And there we have, starting in 9th position, David Kolkman, another young 19-year-old German driver, another one to come up from Formula 4 racing, the ADAC German Formula 4 Championship. So he was racing against Mick Schumacher last year, wasn't he? And son of the 7 times Formula 1 world champion. And 150th race day for this team this weekend, as we see Flores Ramirez, who got his first class podium last time out the Norisring, was very pleased about it. The first Peruvian ever to race in the Porsche Carrera Cup.
Yes. And you mentioned the anniversary, if you like, the MRS GT racing team, who raced not only in the Carrera Cup, but also in GT racing as well. Team headed up by Carsten Molitor, the Molitor Racing Systems head, and of course, that team also responsible for running the car of Christian Engelhardt as well. So there are plenty of spectators still enjoying the, as I say, the late afternoon sunshine. So the order is Müller, Schmidt, Olsen, Engelhardt, Foster, Cullen, then it's Triller, Bockman, Kolkman, Flores Ramirez, Natan, Van der Laar, and Rettenbacher as well. So ordinarily, we would see 2 of the brilliant yellow cars of the Fast Track Racing Centre from Deutsche Post, which are David Kolkman, who we know is down there on the track, and we saw both David and Nick Yellowly earlier on today. And this moment in time, Nick Yellowly is not on the grid and is not showing on the timing screen either. And my colleague Chris Hartley alongside me is frantically trying to find why it is that Nick Yellowly is not on track. So any news that I can bring you over that, then of course I will. So the starting order is Müller and Schmidt, then Olsen and Engelhardt, the first 2 rows of the grid. And as I mentioned, as they head into the turn number 1, which is the Grundig hairpin, if Jeffrey Schmidt can get a fantastic start, that would give him the inside line, which is the line to have going into turn number 1. But it will require a phenomenal start from Jeffrey Schmidt, and perhaps also a poor start from Sven Müller, which he's not renowned for, to be truthful. He's normally one to get it very good. So off they go then on their formation lap around this short circuit at the Norisring. It's short, but it's demanding. And it's very, very unforgiving. It's race number 9 in the Carrera Cup Deutschland for season 2016.
Sound dazu. Das haben Sie im Hintergrund jetzt hinter Julia Just mal so richtig
number
mitbekommen. Der Porsche Carrera Cup bietet das auf alle Fälle. Auch hier auf dieser sehr kurzen Rennstrecke, 2,3 Kilometer lang, im Herzen von Nürnberg gelegen. Der Norisring, eine Traditionsrennstrecke.
Here comes the grid in full for you. Müller and Schmidt, then Olsen and Engelhardt, followed by Nick Foster and Ryan Cullen. Wolfgang Triller and Marek Bachmann, then it's David Kolkman and Ricardo Flores Ramirez, then the Peruvian racer that's going from P10 before we see Wolf Natan, Ronald van der Laar, father of course of Dennis, and Luca Rettenbacher bringing up the rear of the field. What news you bring?
Engine problem for Nick Yellowly in qualifying this morning, so and unable to get the car and the engine repaired in time for the race, I'm afraid. So hopefully he'll be out tomorrow, but he's not going to start the race, I'm afraid, today, Nick Yellowly.
It's never very often that you don't see Franz Conrad smiling, is it? And there is Franz Conrad. There is the anniversary team then of MRS GT Racing. Be hoping for good things, of course. You mentioned Nick Foster, who's going from P5, the winner of the Australian Carrera Cup Championship, racing in the German Carrera Cup. Of course, around the world, Chris, there are very, very successful Carrera Cups, aren't there, in Asia and Australia and here in Germany, of course, in GB as well.
New Zealand,
France,
coming through. GB, very successful championship at the moment, full grids there. And it's 27th season now of Porsche Carrera Cup racing. Fantastic. And they keep updating the cars and these 460 brake horsepower cars. Fantastic. That's Gustav Huber there, two team managers jostling with each other there, having a bit of fun. Two good guys, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. Temperature hasn't dropped much, has it? Track temperature has dropped a little, but the air temperature certainly hasn't. We throw the lights to the top of the screen then for you, and once the 5 lights are extinguished, we will be away and racing. Keep your eyes on Jeffrey Schmidt here. I think he could get a flyer. Let's see. Oof, well, actually, completely the reverse. Sven Müller, a fantastic start. And Jeffrey Schmidt is going to come under pressure from Dennis Olsen straight away, isn't he? As they head into turn number 1. Dennis Olsen getting alongside Sven Müller now. As they go through that hairpin, Nick Foster is right behind him as well. Christian Engelhardt, and who is that that's ran right onto the inside? Was it Marek Bogman, I believe? Taking a very unorthodox way around, but Sven Müller does lead the race going into the Scholleresses for the first time of asking this 25-minute race for the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, or 27 laps. And they are short laps here as well. And, well, Dennis Olsen has made it stick because he's through to P2 and has relegated Jeffrey Schmidt from the same team back down to P3. So as they're about to complete the first lap of the first race of 2 that they have here, it is, as we've so often said in the past, Sven Müller leading from Dennis Olsen P2, then it is Schmidt, then it's Foster, Engelhardt, Cullen, Kolkman and Bachmann, the top 8, Chris.
Yeah, further back, one of the Conrad cars was off the line like a rocket, wasn't it? So we'll see what comes of that. But at the head of the field, all nice, clean starts there, no trouble at all. Here's a replay at the start.
Oh,
it
yes.
was Rettenbacher. Hello, off he goes. It's either him or Van der Laar, but it was Rettenbacher. Right, there's the red lights. They're still on.
I'm going to go when I'm ready.
Yeah, I think he might be. They might be looking at that. Rettenbacher was keen to make up for the qualifying crash and make up good early ground, but he might not get away with that.
No, I think he might not.
That was a jump start and a half, wasn't it? I think it's fair to say.
Yes.
Unless he saw something none of us did. But at the head of the field, Sven Müller, 1.1 seconds clear of Dennis Olsen already. Jeffrey Schmidt 4/10 further back in 3rd place. Nick Foster 3/10 back in 4th. But 2nd, 3rd and 4th all tied together, and 5th as well to some extent with Christian Engelhardt here.
So Nick Foster just having a look at the Jeffrey Schmidt car then ahead of him. And Sven Müller away up the road already, dominating the lead of this race. But Jeffrey Schmidt is now having to concentrate on defending from Nick Foster, who's in P4, rather than trying to retake that place from Dennis Olsen ahead of him now. Wolfgang Triller getting very close to the wall, as they all do, as they run down this fantastic Norisring circuit set up just for this weekend, once every year. Absolutely brilliant place. One of the real highlights of the Carrera Cup calendar is coming here to the Norisring. There is Sven Müller crossing the line then, and then it's Dennis Olsen, Jeffrey Schmidt and Foster, before we see Christian Engelhardt, who doesn't look quite as sharp as perhaps he has done in the past for MRS GT Racing, running in P5.
Look at the gap that the race leader has got already. He's just off like a rocket from everybody else here, Sven Müller. And Dennis Olsen in 2nd position, trying to fend off Jeffrey Schmidt, doing so successfully. Currently then Nick Foster, black and white Team 75 Bernhard car. And then it is Christian Engelhardt, who qualified really well at the Norisring last time, didn't he? And had a go into the first corner right at the start of the first race to get past Sven Müller. But it didn't work, and he went wide coming out of the corner, dropped down to 4th place, and that's where he stayed for the whole race. So it's frustrating for him that he didn't even get on the podium when he was gunning for a race win. He had a better run, did get on the podium in race 2. But here, as you say, he's not quite on the money, is he?
No. To be fair, Luca Rettenbacher, who was in P3 before the race had even started, has gone back and is now running in P12. So I think he realised the error of his ways. And,
well, too late, because car 8, guess who, drive-through penalty for a jump start. Sometimes it's marginal, isn't it?
Yeah, that wasn't was there was no hiding from that one, was there?
Blimey, there's keen and then there's keen, and he was very keen. Oh well, not his day today. Rettenbacher has proven a quick driver though, hasn't he? And,
oh, indeed.
You know, if he can hook it all up tomorrow, he could still get a good result out of this.
Well, the Conrad driver that has got it all hooked up more than well at the moment is Sven Müller, who's leading. Last time around it was by 1.6 seconds within the first 5 minutes of the race. Extraordinary talent that Sven Müller has, and he now adds another couple of tenths to that over Dennis Olsen, who's running in P2. Jeffrey Schmidt in P3, and then it's Nick Foster and Christian Engelhardt and Ryan Cullen are all sort of bunched together there with David Kolkman as well, before we get back to Marek Bogman and Wolfgang Triller there. Can just see that. Let's have a look at this in replay. This is Flores then, with a little bit of contact, I think, about to come with Wolfgang Triller. Perhaps not.
Nicely through, actually.
Yeah, perhaps not.
Yeah. pretty close, but that was a tidy move from the Peruvian driver, so that puts him up to 9th place now. And looking to try and win the Class B for the amateur drivers. For the second time in 2 weekends. So Müller goes through. That lap was a 52.5, 52.6 for Olsen in 2nd place. So the gap's growing, but not by so much anymore.
Right.
He just got straight on with it, didn't he? There is Flores there, the number 15 car, and Wolfgang Triller in the blue and red car, who's just overtaken and already pulling away from. Here's the start. There we go.
Sorry, that is just...
He just couldn't understand why nobody else was racing, could he? Because the lights are still on. You're right, he did realise the error of his ways, and almost stood on the brakes then, didn't he?
Yes, it caused another problem. But anyway, whilst all that was going on, the man that did a great job was Dennis Olsen, wasn't it? Who got past Jeffrey Schmidt.
Yeah.
So Müller now leading by 2 seconds over Dennis Olsen. There's Luca Rettenbacher being advised to take his drive-through penalty. It might be wise.
I hope he doesn't speed in the pit lane now.
Well, that'll be the next thing, won't it? Or cross the white line on the way out. Something will happen, won't it? It's inevitable.
Oh, well, he's getting some good coverage for the sponsors anyway, isn't he? If nothing else. So, Rettenbacher with, well, just a test session.
Franz Conrad.
Is he waving his fist at him?
Yes.
What's he doing?
Yes, he's nodding his head in frustration and disbelief.
He's going to get a bit of stick from the team for that, isn't he?
Yeah.
For about the next 10 years, I think.
Yeah. We have seen a lot of drivers in our career penalised for jumping the start, and as you say, it's often been very, very marginal. That clearly wasn't.
Ryan Cullen's had a very good first set to this lap, faster than anybody else has managed. He's in currently in 6th place, and how far behind Engelhardt? 1.3 seconds behind him. Engelhardt, though, he's also going quickly. He's just done a personal best lap with a 52.4, and is quicker than everybody, bar the race leader, Sven Müller, who's only a few hundreds quicker than him. So Christian Engelhardt with a good lap here, just started to get himself up under the tail now of Nick Foster. There he is in the white, blue and red car. 4th in this train, 5th in the race, and closing up to Nick Foster's machine as they come out of the hairpin once more.
And there you can see Christian Engelhardt right on the back of Nick Foster. Christian Engelhardt, one of the most experienced Carrera Cup racers in the series. And Christian Engelhardt then with degree of success. He's only had 1 win in the season so far, but he's had a bucketful of 2nd places. And there is Dennis Olsen and Jeffrey Schmidt. Then it is Nick Foster, and then it is Christian Engelhardt. So to get the very best out of these Carrera Cup cars, you really have to wring the neck out of them, and each and every one of those drivers doing so at the moment, and perhaps the one other than Sven Müller that's doing it the best at the moment is Dennis Olsen, who's not being troubled at all by Jeffrey Schmidt as they get so close to that concrete wall. There's a slight elevation change there, and also a difference in surface as they run off the tarmac and onto that paved area, as Christian Engelhardt now just dials in Nick Foster ever closer. This is where a potential overtake is going to come between Christian Engelhardt and Nick Foster, just ahead of him. Nick Foster, who travels to every single one of these races here in Europe. He always has the longest journey of anyone, and Christian Engelhardt now flashing his lights at Nick Foster ahead of him, just to try and unsettle him and trying to provoke a mistake. Well, no mistake there from Dennis Olsen, as he's certainly got the measure of his teammate Jeffrey Schmidt at the moment. Olsen running in P2, Schmidt is P3, then Nick Foster still holding off Christian Engelhardt for P4.
Yeah, if these 4 start to fight each other, starts holding each other up, there's a chance the next group of 3 could join them as well.
Yeah.
Ryan Cullen looking really strong in 6th place, a driver that's come up from the British version of this championship, Porsche Carrera Cup GB, which he was up in the top 10 on a number of occasions the last couple of seasons. Ryan Cullen, a bit of GP3 and Formula Ford race experience as well, single-seaters a few years ago. Looking good in 6th place. A screech of tyres somewhere in the background. That didn't sound good, did it?
No.
And behind him, we got Coltman and Botman, 7th and 8th. That was a screech of tyres. It was Flores Ramirez, I'm afraid. And look at this for 2nd place, Dave.
So Olsen versus Schmidt, but ready to take advantage potentially, of course, is Nick Foster as well. Well, Jeffrey Schmidt was denied on that occasion, but bearing in mind that these two both race for the same Lechner-Huber racing team, there's no team orders, Chris, is there? It's every driver for himself out there. Now, in an ideal situation, you don't war with your own teammates, but it means the difference of a position or two, then you're going to go for it. And Müller has certainly gone for it. And Schmidt dives up the inside now. Can he scrub the speed off? Olsen fights back, and he's done him. So, one down, one back up again. And actually, the big loser there.
No, it's Schmidt.
Yeah, he's lost it, hasn't he? Yes.
It was a good move from Schmidt down the inside, but then he four-wheel drifted coming out of the hairpin and clipped the wall and damage to the car, and now to the back of the pack. And it doesn't bode well with the bodywork rubbing on the right rear. So he just down the inside, then he got on the gas, and it looked like he was going to pull off a great move. And then all at 460 horsepower kicked in. He just drifted and just nicked the wall on the exit.
Well, I saw Olsen didn't let it happen, and that's the reason why I didn't see the clattering into the wall. So I thought Olsen had been able to regain the place just on pace, but of course it wasn't the case at all. Jeffrey Schmidt actually clattering into the wall, and that causing damage to that car, which has advantaged both Nick Foster and Christian Engelhardt as well.
Foster did well to avoid him because he was right behind him, had to get right out of the way, and then got him on the exit. And then Engelhardt pounced as well, didn't he, going into the Scholler S's? So
he's still going though.
Still going. The fear is that that could
give
break
way
on the tyre, and the tyre could give way. But for the time being, the Michelin tyre is holding up here and gets pretty close to the wall on the exit again. It was a brave move, and you understand that he kind of had to go for it, because it felt like he was a bit quicker than Dennis Olsen, couldn't find a way through, and all the time his rival, the championship leader, was getting away at the head of the field. He's now 4.3 seconds clear of Sven Müller.
So we will see how long, and I mean the tyre is smoking virtually the entire lap, isn't it, as the panel work rubs against it on the Jeffrey Schmidt car. And now I wonder if it has let go, and that's what's provoked the spin, because the car is looking a little bit lower on that other side, isn't it? Gets the car going again. I hope he doesn't get collected there. Thankfully, everyone avoids. Deft use of the waved yellows by the marshals there. Brilliant job from them.
It's hobbling, isn't it? You're right. Flat tyre.
Yeah, it did let go, didn't it? Well, and that was the shot of him spinning, and the spin provoked by the fact that the tyre did really rather rapidly deflate, which was no surprise given the bodywork rubbing against it. So Jeffrey Schmidt sadly out of the race now. So that's changed things from P2, although Olsen, of course, never lost out his P2, but Nick Foster is now in a podium position, P3. Christian Engelhardt is P4, and this will give ever the impetus to Christian Engelhardt to try and find his way around the Australian champion ahead of him.
So Dennis Olsen's just set his fastest lap of the race, his personal best lap of the race, because he was having to defend so much, wasn't he, from Jeffrey Schmidt. He's now been released of that pressure, and he can just carry on driving his lines as Jeffrey Schmidt, forlorn figure, makes his way back to the paddock, shaking his head. Yeah, you don't blame him for having a go.
No,
it didn't quite work out, did it? And he wants to win the championship. Third and fourth places are not much good to him, really. He wants to go and progress and either be winning or finishing in second place. He certainly looked like he had the pace for second, but it's not easy to overtake at times around here. But he can do it.
So in the B category, it's Wolfgang Triller that leads Wolf Natan in the B Championship. Those two cars that you can see there with Van der Laar, who is running in P3. That's in the B classification, if you like. In the meantime, here comes Christian Engelhardt now, just having a look at Nick Foster. This for P3 in the race, but Engelhardt is denied once again, and Nick Foster makes his car as wide as he possibly can to try and prevent any attack from Christian Engelhardt. But Engelhardt certainly all over the back of Nick Foster at the moment, and that is the closest battle probably that's going on, and it is the battle for P3.
Be his fourth third place finish of the season if he can hang on to it. This Nick Foster, he's third on the spin as well, so driving really well because he knows the cars, or these types of cars, from his experience in Australia, but he's having to learn all of the tracks, and he's doing a really good job.
Yes, he won't have done Norisring, will he? Very good point, whereas Christian Engelhardt has lots of experience here So here comes Engelhardt dialing him in once again, reeling him in now as they head down towards the hairpin. Engelhardt will go to the outside. Foster tries to block that. Now, if Christian was a bit closer, there was a bit of a lock-up from Foster, which almost opened up a gap, didn't it, for Christian Engelhardt? But it was a good reaction from Engelhardt to scrub the speed off and not slide into him.
Yeah, a lesser driver would have been into the back of him. Another lock-up, though, from Nick Foster.
He's under pressure, isn't he?
Under pressure. He's, you know, he's been pushing hard on those Michelin tyres as well. And... yeah, see, Christian wasn't even thinking about this. Then maybe a gap will present itself. Maybe he'll slide wide. He positioned himself, and then, as you say, as Foster got back onto the line, Christian was aware enough to avoid running into the back of him. But that car is all over the shop again. Nick Foster's losing grip here, and he's going to lose the position, surely, this time, Dave, to Christian Engelhardt. Side by side over the start-finish line.
Here they come, absolutely side by side, but Christian Engelhardt has got the momentum, I think. Or has he? Foster fights back here. This is going to be terrific into the Grundig hairpin. Engelhardt with the inside line should be safe. Little bit of panel rubble in almost between the two of them, but Engelhardt has got the job done. Now, I just wonder whether the slides and the lockups from Nick Foster all provoked by the pressure from Christian Engelhardt. If so, I'll be very, very surprised, because Foster has not yielded to pressure in the past.
No, exactly. It looks like he's just used the best out of the tyres, doesn't it? And suddenly on that lap, the car was all over the shop. This was the slide.
Whoa, good control, actually.
It was, but sideways, he's not forwards. And
no.
Not the quickest way out of the corner. It looks great, but the smoother exit from Christian Engelhardt was what then gave him the chance to get the lead into the hairpin. Into turn one at the start of this lap. Critical to get the exit from that last corner, because you're flat out then all the way around the last corner, down the start finish straight into the hairpin. Look at this, they didn't touch. That was really good driving from both of them. He's a good driver, isn't he, Christian Engelhardt? Very fair.
Yes. And now that he's been almost released, you can see he is demonstrably quicker. Certainly not as quick as Müller, who is, where are we, 5.5 seconds up the road. Before we see Dennis Olsen, who in turn is, what, 4 seconds ahead of Engelhardt, 3 seconds. So Engelhardt has really got some time to make up to try and get on to Dennis Olsen. And what are we? We've got 7 laps left to run in this race. It's going to be a big, big ask, isn't it?
Next one to watch is going to be, again, with Foster. Can he hang on to 4th place? Because Ryan Cullen was a second quicker on the previous lap. Look how much closer he is in the turquoise and white Conrad car in the background. So there is Christian Engelhardt up to 3rd place, having got past Nick Foster at the start of the previous lap. There is Nick Foster, again, a little bit close to the wall, black and white machine. And Cullen now is, again, closing the gap. He was only a few hundredths quicker that time around there. So Nick Foster seems to have steadied the ship, for the time being at least, and hanging on to 4th place.
But just look at the gap Christian Engelhardt has eked out now, which proves just the pace that he had. Or just wonder whether maybe Nick Foster is harbouring just a small issue with that car. Because it doesn't look to be handling anything like as well as it did. He's losing a little bit of time, isn't he?
Half a second to Christian Engelhardt on that lap, and more on the lap before. So we thought Engelhardt was a little bit, there's Franz Conrad, willing on Sven Müller like he needs to. He's gone, don't worry about him, he's miles in front. Probably willing on Ryan Cullen as well, isn't he, I think, more than anything. But yeah, Engelhardt sort of was a bit steady in the first part of the race, but maybe just was being held up, because he clearly is quick now, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so, very much so. So Ryan Cullen then getting ever closer to Nick Foster, as you've said. It's the battle that's going to develop for P4. There goes Christian Engelhardt going through in P3. And, well, it's Foster, Cullen, and then it's Coltman there before we see Marek Bachmann, who is running in P7 before we get the B category drivers of Wolfgang Triller, Wolfgang Natan, and Dennis van der Laar, who are running in P10. Flores Ramirez is running in P11, and Luca Rettenbacher is in Munich. Van
der Laar's catching them, isn't he?
Yeah.
Closing up to those two, so it's going to be a good scrap for Class B honours here. 4/10 quicker on the previous lap was that man, Ronald van der Laar. He was doing a bit of showboating on the way to qualifying earlier on, wasn't he, coming through the paddock?
Yes,
he's got a few friends and fans here, and he was warming the tyres up on the way to the holding area. But he's looking quick, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is. Of course, This will be a supremely well-engineered car from Conrad. No question about that, and you can see just how well engineered those cars can be, because one of those cars is 6 seconds to the good up front at the moment. Sven Müller about to probably increase that margin over Dennis Olsen by just a little bit more, because he's crossed the timing line. And oh well, actually Dennis Olsen has taken a 10th out, or perhaps that's Sven Müller who just stopped for a breath for a moment. There is Sven Müller then, and the perfectly engineered Conrad car that I was talking about, and Sven Müller, Porsche Junior, who has just driven it to perfection over so many races this season thus far. It's been absolute joy to watch a driver so well set up, and a driver and team combination that works so very well together. And Christian Engelhardt desperately trying to reel in Dennis Olsen ahead, but now Ryan Cullen is on the back of Nick Foster. I just saw at the back of that shot. There is Christian Engelhardt doing everything he can to get ever closer to Dennis Olsen, and I think that gap is coming down.
Yeah, a little bit. Half a tenth quicker last time around.
Yellow flag in momentarily in Sector 3. It's gone away again, but look at Cullen on Foster now. So Cullen then is hoping over the closing stages of this race to reel in the KUS Team 75 Bernhard car of Nick Foster. And I still think that potentially there might be a problem with that car.
The other thing to watch, Dave, further back, is for Class B. So we know it's closing up between Wolfgang Triller, number 13, 8th overall, but leading the Class B, the amateur class. Wolf Netani's only just over a second behind him. Dennis van der Laar is quicker than them both.
Right.
And he's only another second further back, and that gap is coming down all the time. But the one to watch is the one that had the spin earlier, because Flores Ramirez is flying after them. He's a second a lap quicker than the 3 amateurs. Kiss of death, is that him that caused the...
I think it was the yellow flag induced incident.
Oh dear, oh dear, sorry. Yeah,
that was your fault.
He was flying, he was a second a lap quicker than them. He got the gap from 4 seconds down to 2 seconds in 2 laps. So I was about to say he was about to join this battle for the lead of Class B, but now that's Rettenbacher going slowly. Has he got a puncture?
Yeah, something wrong with it.
Back right, back left puncture possibly. Hard to see from there, but anyway, technical gremlin, and well, out of the race. Started like a rocket, ended like a slug, I'm afraid. So it's been a long day, Dave.
Okay. Here's Nick Foster and Ryan Cullen then fighting over this 4th place, and Cullen is... He knows he's running out of time to do this because we're on the final lap. So he has got this lap and only this lap for Ryan Cullen to try and turn P4 into his. Look at Rettenbacher trying to get the car to safety. There is Sven Müller going through, who's our race leader, who has been completely and totally untroubled for the entire duration of the race and is 6 seconds to the good up front. Dennis Olsen in P2 and Christian Engelhardt in P3. It's been another absolutely assured drive from this young man, who has not put one wheel wrong and heads towards the checkered flag to take yet another win and delight for Conrad Motorsport as Sven Müller wins. P2 goes the way of Dennis Olsen. Here comes Christian Engelhardt for P3. That's a back-marking car, and Foster does take P4. Ryan Cullen not able to get past him. Kolkman P6, then it's going to be Marek Bachmann will take P7. Wolfgang Triller should lead them home in the B category. Indeed he does. There's Wolfgang Triller. There is Wolf Natan, and that is Ronald van der Laar. Ricardo Ramirez Flores hopefully managed to get the car turned around and going again. Luca Rettenbacher, some technical issue, and Jeffrey Schmidt we lost earlier in the race. So the race winner, Sven Müller. Chris, it's like watching perfection.
7 wins out of 9. Last time at the Norisring, Franz Conrad held 6 fingers. I think he's going to start running out of fingers soon, isn't he, if Sven Müller carries on like this? It's the sort of dominance we saw from Philipp Eng in the last 2 seasons to win the championship. And, you know, there's a chance he's going to get more wins than Philipp did, the way it's going. But great drive from him. Dennis Olsen, pretty impressive once again in 2nd place. Unlucky for Jeffrey Schmidt. Engelhardt's decent overtakes to get third place. Foster held on for fourth, as you say. And Ryan Cullen, with his best result so far this season, did a good job, didn't he, in fifth place?
Yes, and it was a good job from Ryan Cullen. And, you know, perhaps just one more lap and he might have done it. It's very, very easy to say, isn't it? But, yeah, no, good drive from Ryan Cullen.
So top three make their way into the winners' enclosure. And Sven Müller by just shy of 6 seconds, and of course with the fastest lap of the race, cool as you like out of the car. Well, he was a very solid driver in single-seaters in Formula 3. He's a mega driver in Porsches though, isn't he? You can see why they've picked him up as a junior driver. And as we've said already a few times this season, a bright future awaits.
Yeah, he's got a glistening career ahead of him, hasn't he? There's no question about that.
Maybe this young man as well, also picked up as a Porsche junior, Dennis Olsen.
Yes.
They've got an eye for talent, haven't they, I think?
Well, certainly, and you know, history would say that that's absolutely accurate, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Some fantastic drivers that have been through, and of course, Porsche come here off the back of Le Mans success.
Yeah, we heard the story that because Toyota, who led
yes.
the whole race, then a technical problem with 5 minutes to go in the race, which is, you know, scale it down. It's like losing it on the last corner of a race, isn't it?
Extraordinary. But
Porsche were happy to win, but were really classy about the way they celebrated, and gave great credit to Toyota, and
and
with advertising as well that they put out in Germany. Apparently, it was just a Toyota that they put on the winner's poster and saying, you know, bad luck to our closest rivals. They did
and that is the mark of class, isn't it?
Yeah,
I agree. As this is the mark of class driving as well from Sven Müller.
We've had Nick Tandy coming through the ranks, and being a Le Mans winner with Porsche last year, and I think that might be the way Sven Müller might be headed at some point in the future.
Yeah, yes.
Although he's still got plenty of options at this young age, hasn't he?
You wouldn't discount that as being a possibility, would you? Travels to every race with his family, stays in his motorhome. And celebrates yet another victory. So Müller, Olsen and Engelhardt will see on the A podium. The B podium will be Triller, Natan and Ronald van der Laar. If we have time to bring you the B podium. Of course, I was mentioning this Norisring circuit. As we get the result in full, Müller, Olsen, Engelhardt, Foster, Cullen, Cogman. Then it was Bockman, Triller, Natan and van der Laar, with Ramirez, Rettenbacher and Schmidt at the bottom of the pack. Everything is temporary about this circuit, brought in for one event a year as Sven Müller's national anthem plays out. So the baseball caps are donned once again as trophy presentation time. Burkhard Bechtel then up there on the podium to make the announcements. And we've seen an eclectic mix of trophies across the podiums this weekend. And there's Franz Conrad from Conrad Motorsport, but another good set of good-looking podiums there. Good-looking trophies even. Podium has stayed the same, truthfully.
But podium.
Yeah, all right. The trophies look great, don't they?
Yeah, they're very much so. Some great silverware here this weekend. Franz Conrad, of course, and Conrad Motorsport leading the team championship as well. Wolfgang Triller, the leader of Class B. There's Christian Engelhardt. Very good move on Nick Foster, wasn't it, to get through. Very good, clean move. Saw the elder statesman up on what's a pretty young podium, isn't he?
Yes.
Especially there, Dennis Olsen, to the left of your picture. So 3 super drivers there onto the podium. All smiles. Another race to come this weekend, though.
And it's the slightly longer race, isn't it?
Champagne time for now, though. Well, Sven's had a fair bit of practice at this, hasn't he? So he ought to be quite quick. And he is.
Which takes some super slow-mos then of the top three. Christian Engelhardt then, as Chris referred to, the elder statesman on the podium. Certainly the oldest of the three drivers up on the podium. He took a P3. Dennis Olsen, another one in the Porsche development program. And, well, they do have an eye for some talent. And that talent in the number 21 car propelled that machine to P2. And Sven Müller, well, no mistaking the fact that that man is going to be a racing star with a great career ahead of him. 161 points now, plays 149. And as you made the point right at the start of the program, Chris, that the unique way that the Carrera Cup points are awarded means that it will only take one Duff weekend from Sven Müller, and Christian Engelhardt and potentially Dennis Olsen could be right back in the mix again.
That's right, 11 points, so he's got 8 wins out of 11. Christian Engelhardt has had 1 win, but 1 DNF tomorrow and 1 top 4, top 5 finish for Engelhardt. He'll be the championship leader.
Join us tomorrow for the slightly longer race from the Porsche Carrera Cup. From Chris and myself, thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.